Okay, so we're gonna teach you how to make a baby bottle. So first you're gonna fill up the water to 4 ounces, or however much you want to feed your baby. And then you measure it out by 1 scoop per 2 fluid ounces. So I'm gonna put in 2 scoops. And then I'm gonna shake. And then I'm gonna fill this mug up with some hot water. And then you just set the bottle in there and you do this to warm it up. And then once it's warm, feed your baby.
So now that we have our warm bottle, you can start by feeding your baby. First, you want to have the right position, so you want to be holding your baby like you would hold a football. Make sure their head's propped up, and then you can begin feeding them. One thing that you do not want to do when feeding your baby is lay them down and prop the bottle up because they could choke. Make sure that also when you're feeding your baby that they're getting the milk and not air, because then they will throw up and spit up, and you do not want that to happen.
Feeding your baby, they might swallow some air, so it's important to burp them after every feeding. One technique is to put them over your shoulder and just pat their back. Another technique is to put them like on your knee to support their head, and then just pat their back like this. One method of feeding your baby is self-demand, so that's when the baby wants to be fed, and the signs are licking their lips and rooting. One pro could be the baby gets enough milk to ensure they have all the nutrients they get, and one con is during the first few weeks, newborns tend to sleep a lot, so they might not wake up to be fed.
Okay, and then another method to feeding your baby is scheduled feeding, and that's when you make a schedule on like how often or when your baby will eat, and you base this off of their weight and their age. And the normal, or the average time in between feedings is like 2 to 3 hours. So some pros about scheduled feeding is that you know that your baby's getting enough to eat, and you know when your baby's going to eat. And then cons would be that your baby might want to eat more or less than you're feeding it, but since you're on a scheduled feeding, then you just feed it anyway.